There are certain people in this world who carry a divine assignment, a sacred calling, and a light that cannot be dimmed. These are the chosen ones. Their journey may not always be easy, but their lives are surrounded by divine protection and cosmic order. When someone chooses to interfere with them, whether through envy, betrayal, or deliberate harm, the universe does not sit back quietly. Instant consequences begin to unfold. Because chosen ones are not walking alone, they move under heavenly covering. If this message has reached you at the exact moment you needed it, know that it is no coincidence. You were meant to hear this truth today. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any more divine wisdom. And if you feel in your spirit that this word is confirmation for you, type 11 in the comments section below as a sign of alignment and to receive divine blessings. Now let's dive into the 10 things that instantly happen to people who mess with chosen ones. 1. Their mask falls off. The first thing that happens is exposure. When someone comes against a chosen one, their true colors can no longer stay hidden. Their lies, manipulations, and secret motives begin to spill out. The universe allows their mask to slip so everyone can see who they really are. What they try to do in darkness is suddenly dragged into the light. Beyond that immediate unveiling, the exposure unfolds in slow, undeniable ways that ripple through relationships, social circles, and even the attacker's own internal narrative. A single misstep, an offhanded comment, a misplaced file, a private message leaked, a trusted confidant suddenly speaking up, acts like a hairline crack in a carefully crafted facade. Once the crack appears, more fissures widen until the whole mask crumbles. People who once admired or trusted the aggressor begin to notice inconsistencies. The flattering story that changes under cross-examination, the compassion that evaporates when it's inconvenient, the contradictions between public persona and private behavior. Often this revelation is not violent or dramatic, it is quietly relentless and impossibly precise, revealing motive after motive in a way that ordinary defenses cannot patch. The chosen one, meanwhile, watches as the narrative about them corrects itself. Rumors die, accusations thin, and truth reasserts its shape. Importantly, the exposure doesn't just harm the aggressor's reputation, it also clears the air for those around the chosen one, enabling reconciliation where manipulation had sown confusion. Those who were misled begin to reassess loyalties, apologize for misjudgments, and restore honor to the chosen one's name. In the aftermath, the aggressor is left with the hard task of facing the honest reflection of who they were when they believed they could conceal it, exposed, shamed, and finally seen for what they truly are. 2. Karma speeds up. For most people, karma can take time. But when you mess with a chosen one, that cause and effect cycle accelerates instantly. The wrong you did yesterday starts to bring consequences today. Closed doors, broken opportunities, and sudden downfalls begin to appear much faster than expected. This speeding up of karmic return is not merely poetic language, it describes a concentrated set of consequences that come when someone tampers with destiny or interferes with what has spiritual momentum behind it. Actions that might otherwise be buffered by luck, obscured by ambiguity, or delayed by layers of complexity, are suddenly placed under an intense spotlight of balancing forces. Machines of justice, both human and metaphysical, seem to speed up. Contracts that should have gone through get snagged, introductions that should have opened doors disappear, and once safe alliances fray overnight. There is an almost mathematical precision to this acceleration. Small moral lapses that were previously cost-free become compounding liabilities, and mistakes that could have been corrected are now magnified by timing and exposure. The aggressor experiences not just external setbacks, but internal misalignments, gut instincts that warn, synchronistic obstacles that appear at crucial moments, and a creeping sense of inevitability that their plans are failing. For the chosen one, these shifts feel less like vindication and more like cosmic rebalancing. the universe acts to restore the trajectory that was being obstructed. Observers often note how quickly the scales tip. One day the aggressor seems unstoppable, the next their influence wanes. In the long view, this acceleration of cause and effect serves as a deterrent. It broadcasts to others that interfering with certain paths carries not only moral but immediate practical consequences, and it protects those whose work is aligned with greater purpose. 3. Chosen one gains peace, aggressor loses power. Where the enemy expects chaos, the chosen one finds supernatural calm. They don't react in fear, instead, their spirit grows stronger. This calmness shakes the aggressor because their manipulations stop working. The chosen one's peace becomes a weapon that disarms the enemy instantly. Peace in this context is not mere stoicism or passive silence, it is an active, clarifying force that reorganizes power dynamics. When someone attempts to provoke, intimidate, or destabilize a chosen one, they expect frantic reactions, defensive overreach, or vengeful tit-for-tat behavior. Instead, they confront an unshakable center. This calm has multiple effects. It preserves the chosen one's energy and focus, allowing them to continue their mission without detours. It exposes the aggressor's tactics by refusing to engage on their terms. And it flips the social script so onlookers see who truly carries integrity and who relies on theatrics. The aggressor's leverage, fear, gossip, control, is rendered blunt when met with imperturbable composure. People sometimes misunderstand this dynamic and assume calm equals weakness, but in many spiritual and strategic traditions, stillness is the highest form of strength. It hides no weakness and reveals no immediate counters for the attacker. The aggressor, accustomed to causing panic or confusion, finds their usual levers slipping through their fingers. They escalate, become erratic, or overplay their hand, which only accelerates their decline. The chosen one, by contrast, navigates the situation with clear discernment, knowing when to speak, when to step back, and when to let natural consequences take care of the rest. Over time, this quiet strength does more than protect. It attracts allies who respect restraint and harms the aggressor's credibility among those who prefer steady leadership. The peace thus functions as both shield and strategic instrument, restoring the moral balance while weakening the enemy's capacity to cause harm. 4. People around them see the truth. The moment someone comes against a chosen one, the universe rearranges relationships. Friends, co-workers, or family begin to see the truth clearly. The chosen one attracts unexpected support, while the aggressor finds themselves losing allies. The more they try to fight, the more isolated they become. Human relationships are often woven from convenience, projection, and habit. When a chosen one is attacked, those threads are tested and frequently reknit in new patterns. What looks like a social or professional network before the attack often redefines itself, because truth acts like a clarifying lens that adjusts everyone's perceptions. People who were neutral or undecided find reasons to stand up when presented with clear evidence of character, and those who had been misled or manipulated by the aggressor begin to reassess their loyalties. This process can be surprisingly swift. Confidants who once echoed the aggressor's narrative suddenly report private misgivings. Colleagues who previously tolerated unethical behavior now demand accountability. Family members, too, may shift, sometimes painfully, away from enabling patterns toward protection and solidarity with the chosen one. This flux is not merely emotional, it has practical consequences. Projects falter when key supporters withdraw, alliances crumble as people opt for integrity, and social capital moves toward the person perceived as truthful. Interesting dynamics often surface. People who had been quietly watching now speak up, and those who had been complicit find themselves socially exposed. The aggressor, sensing this shift, may double down with coercion or misdirection, but those tactics often backfire because they confirm the very suspicions that prompted the break in trust. Over time, a new order emerges where the chosen one is surrounded by people whose support is based on clarity and shared values rather than convenience. The aggressor's isolation then becomes both a social consequence and a moral reckoning, signaling to the wider community that the choices they made against destiny carry reputational costs. 5. Divine warnings begin to appear. Chosen ones are deeply intuitive, and when they are attacked, their senses sharpen immediately. Dreams, signs, gut feelings, and synchronicities start to show up. These warnings help them avoid traps and stay steps ahead of their enemies. The aggressor may think they are clever, but the chosen one is always alerted in advance. These warnings are varied in form and subtle in timing. For some chosen ones, a recurring dream arrives with distinct symbols. For others, casual conversations suddenly yield key phrases that trigger recollections or insights. There are also everyday synchronicities, an unexpected phone call, a misplaced document that surfaces at the perfect moment, or a sudden intuition that prevents stepping into harm's way. Often these signals are not overt stop-now alarms but layered nudges, a feeling of unease prompting careful research, a small coincidence that leads to a protective change in schedule, or a vivid image that later decodes into practical guidance. This pattern of heightened sensitivity functions like a radar system, enabling chosen ones to navigate threats without paranoia. Importantly, these warnings don't just offer defensive benefit, they invite deeper wisdom. They teach chosen ones to trust inner guidance, to read patterns in human behavior, and to act with timing rather than reactivity. The aggressor, who depends on secrecy, timing, and surprise, frequently encounters failure because their stealth is countered by these intuitive signals. Moreover, the community around the chosen one sometimes experiences a ripple of these warnings too. Others receive nudges to offer help, to volunteer information, or to change plans that inadvertently block the aggressor's strategy. In effect, the chosen one becomes embedded in a protective rhythm where foresight and coincidence work together to close off harm. This constant interplay between intuition and outer circumstances makes the aggressor's cleverness less effective. Their moves are anticipated, countered, and often nullified before they can be fully enacted. 6. The enemy's weak points are exposed. Every plan built against a chosen one has cracks. When someone interferes with a chosen one's destiny, those cracks are instantly revealed. Maybe it's a forgotten detail, a careless mistake, or an overlooked flaw, but the plan collapses faster than it was built. When someone constructs a plot against a person whose path is aligned with purpose, they often rely on assumed secrecy, timing, and the vulnerability of human error. However, the universe's corrective tendencies target those assumptions. Overlooked clauses in agreements show up at the worst moment for the aggressor. Witnesses remember what they had conveniently forgotten, electronic traces resurface, or a key participant changes allegiance at a decisive hour. These weak points are subtle, not always dramatic, but their cumulative effect is devastating. Think of it as structural engineering for moral consequences, a small imperfection in the foundation, an unverified fact, a misremembered promise, an insecure communication, becomes the fulcrum upon which the entire plan tips. Sometimes the exposure is psychological. The aggressor's overconfidence leads them to skip precautions, to boast, or to reuse tactics that someone else has seen and recorded. These behavioral cracks become the easiest leverage for truth to reconstruct itself. In other cases, the exposure is logistical. A missed meeting, a misrouted email, an unexpected technical failure that halts the scheme. For observers, the unraveling often looks like a series of minor annoyances that, when strung together, make the original plan untenable. For the chosen one, watching these gaps appear provides crucial space to act, to shore up protection, and to reclaim ground. The aggressor, meanwhile, experiences mounting frustration as their once smooth strategy becomes a patchwork of failures. What was intended to be a swift coup against destiny instead becomes a slow-motion collapse where every exposed flaw accelerates the downfall. Ultimately, the exposure of weak points not only saves the chosen one, but also serves as a practical lesson to others. Plans rooted in deceit almost always contain the seeds of their own undoing. 7. Bystanders feel the weight of conscience. Something powerful happens when a chosen one is mistreated. People watching can no longer stay silent. The universe stirs their conscience. Friends defend them, co-workers speak out, strangers show kindness. The aggressor suddenly feels the sting of public judgment, because even bystanders are moved to stand with the chosen one. Human beings are social animals wired to respond to perceived injustice. When a chosen one is targeted, that instinct often converts into action. Bystanders who might otherwise be indifferent suddenly become active participants in the moral drama. This awakening of conscience can take many forms. A colleague who had previously turned a blind eye writes an honest email. A neighbor who saw suspicious behavior steps forward to corroborate a story. A social media thread that once amplified the aggressor's narrative flips to expose inconsistencies. The cumulative force of these small acts is powerful because it demonstrates collective repudiation, an emergent organic correction that does not rely on formal institutions. For the aggressor, the effect is disorienting. They move from operating with plausible deniability to confronting widespread moral condemnation. This reversal often prompts attempts to gaslight or intimidate, but such tactics fall flat when the tide of public conscience is already turning. Importantly, the bystander's shift is also catalytic. It gives permission to others, who may have feared retaliation, to speak up and act. The chosen one benefits not only from direct defense, but from a broader cultural signal that wrongdoing will not be tolerated. This reaction also humanizes the chosen one in the eyes of the community. Their suffering becomes a rallying point that crystallizes values and strengthens social bonds. Over time, the aggressor is not merely defeated tactically but marginalized morally, because communities remember who defended what was right, and who practiced cruelty in the face of another's calling. 8. The aggressor loses energy and peace. Messing with a chosen one is exhausting. The attacker begins to lose sleep, health, and inner stability. Their minds become restless, their emotions unstable, and their bodies drained. Meanwhile, the chosen one, though targeted, becomes stronger and more resilient. There is a karmic and psychological cost to sustained aggression, especially when aimed at someone whose trajectory is bolstered by purpose and spiritual backing. The aggressor expends enormous resources, mental, emotional, and sometimes financial, trying to engineer outcomes that often resist manipulation. This continual exertion has physiological consequences. High cortisol from chronic stress leads to poor sleep, irritability, and weakened immune response. Anxiety grows into obsessive thinking, and decisions made under pressure become erratic and self-defeating. As these effects compound, the aggressor's relationships fray, their judgment dulls, and their capacity for sustained action deteriorates. The chosen one, paradoxically, experiences an opposite arc. The trials refine rather than deplete them. Adversity becomes a forge that strengthens patience, sharpens discernment, and refines purpose. Where the aggressor wastes energy on control, the chosen one focuses energy on healing, strategy, and alignment, turning attack into a catalyst for growth. This contrast becomes visible. Observers see the aggressor's agitation and the chosen one's increasing composure. It undermines the aggressor's credibility and reduces their capacity to rally support. In many narratives across cultures, those who act from desperation eventually reveal their vulnerability through health problems, impulsive acts, or public meltdowns. This erosion is not necessarily instantaneous, but is reliably progressive. The chosen one's resilience, by contrast, attracts sustained support and manifests as greater stamina, creative problem-solving, and wise boundaries. Ultimately, loss of energy and peace is the natural consequence of trying to force outcomes against a person whose life is moving in accord with deeper laws. 9. Divine protection intervenes instantly. Chosen ones experience miracles of timing and protection. Delays, interruptions, or sudden changes keep them safe. What the enemy meant for harm is redirected for good. The aggressor often finds doors closing on them, while the chosen one walks into blessings meant to elevate them higher. This kind of intervention often appears as ordinary providence, flights cancelled at just the right moment, calls that arrive with crucial information, or unexpected assistance from a source that previously seemed irrelevant. To the outside observer, these events can look like coincidence, but for the chosen one they knit together into a pattern of protection that feels intentional and precise. Timing plays a crucial role. A last-minute schedule change prevents a trap. A sudden rainstorm disperses a harmful gathering. A bureaucratic delay derails a malicious legal maneuver. These interventions are rarely loud miracles. They are practical and timely adjustments that preserve the chosen one's path and redirect potential harm into opportunities for growth. Often the aggressor experiences the opposite pattern. Doors close, introductions vanish, and once promising avenues dry up. This asymmetry is not merely punitive, it is corrective. The universe, or whatever force is safeguarding the chosen one, rebalances momentum so that purpose is preserved and negative intent is neutralized. For the chosen one, these interventions also come with responsibilities. They are prompts to steward the protection well, to remain humble, and to use blessings to further their mission. For witnesses, such protective patterns reinforce faith and rally support. The aggressor, confronting repeated blockages where they expected ease, often becomes demoralized and then desperate, which only deepens the disparity. Over time, what began as a hostile attempt transforms into a narrative of safeguarded destiny, where harm intended is folded back into the fabric of advancement. 10. The aggressor becomes a lesson to others. Finally, when you come against a chosen one, your downfall becomes a warning story. People remember what happened and learn never to repeat the same mistake. The chosen one's name remains protected, but the aggressor becomes the cautionary tale of why you never mess with destiny. Human cultures transmit wisdom through stories, and the downfall of someone who tried to derail another's purpose becomes a particularly potent moral lesson. Such narratives are retold with specific details: how the plot failed, which missteps were decisive, and how the chosen one endured. And in retelling they crystallize into social norms and practical examples. The aggressor's actions become an instructional case study. Leaders learn which behaviors cost reputation. Collaborators learn how to discern hidden motives. Communities learn to protect those they sense are on a destiny track. The chosen one's reputation, paradoxically, is often enhanced precisely because they were targeted. Survivors of unjust attacks tend to be granted moral authority, empathy, and credibility that protect their future work. The aggressor, meanwhile, is remembered not as a victim of circumstance, but as a participant in their own fall. This memory works as deterrence. Future would-be aggressors reckon with the social, professional, and sometimes spiritual consequences of similar acts. These stories also serve restorative functions. They help victims contextualize their suffering, allow communities to reassert values, and provide a blueprint for reparation. Over the long term, the narrative that emerges is less about punishment and more about instruction. People learn the cost of trying to short-circuit destiny, and they carry that lesson into business dealings, relationships, and leadership choices. The aggressor's legacy, therefore, becomes a cautionary tale, preserved in conversations, warnings, and sometimes informal records, reminding everyone that interfering with someone's ordained work is not only morally wrong, but strategically self-defeating. Chosen ones are not ordinary. They walk with a covering that cannot be explained by human logic. This is why those who attempt to harm them always find themselves battling forces much greater than the chosen one themselves. It is not personal revenge, it is divine order. The universe, God, and the spiritual laws of cause and effect all stand guard around those with a mission. This is the Chosen Seer channel. If you are a chosen one, remember this truth: you do not need to fight every battle. Sometimes your silence is your shield, and your peace is your greatest weapon. And if you've been attacked, betrayed, or misunderstood, take comfort. The universe has already stepped in on your behalf. For those listening right now, if this word spoke directly to your spirit, don't leave without subscribing to the channel. And once again, type 1111 in the comments section to seal your alignment with divine blessings. Stay strong, chosen ones. Your light cannot be dimmed, and your destiny cannot be stopped. Thank you for watching.